Math 8, Unit 6, Pythagorean Theorem in Real Numbers, Lesson 5, Part 1, Converse of the Pythagorean Theorem. First, we need to go over what a converse is. A converse of a statement switches the hypothesis and the conclusion. In general, you've got if hypothesis, then conclusion, where P is the hypothesis, Q is the conclusion. The converse of the statement says if Q, then P. For example, if 3a equals 9, then a equals 3. That's hypothesis, 3a equals 9, and conclusion, a equals 3. The converse of that statement is if a equals 3, then 3a equals 9. Here's another statement that's a little less math related. If you are a daughter, then you are a girl and have a parent. The converse of that statement switches those two statements. If you are a girl and have a parent, then you are a daughter. So we've got the statement here that basically is the Pythagorean theorem in picture form. If you have a right triangle with side lengths a, b, and c, where c is the long side, the hypotenuse, then a squared plus b squared equals c squared. If we switch these around, we get what's called the converse of the Pythagorean theorem, which states if a squared plus b squared equals c squared for three numbers, then those three numbers can be used as lengths around a triangle, and that will be a right triangle. So in this lesson, I can use the converse of the Pythagorean theorem to determine whether a triangle is a right triangle when given three side lengths. The converse of the Pythagorean theorem states if the equation a squared plus b squared equals c squared is true for the side lengths of a triangle, then the triangle is a right triangle. Let's look at some examples here. Tell whether this triangle is a right triangle. Well, the first thing we would do is write out in the Pythagorean formula a squared plus b squared equals c squared. The c is going to be our long side always. Potentially, 41 has the greatest potential of actually being the hypotenuse, so it's my c. Then we do some further calculation, and we find that on this one we get 1,681 equals 1,681. So yes, this one is a right triangle. Okay, let's look at the next one. Which side has the greatest potential of it being a hypotenuse? Well, that would be 24 feet. So we're going to set this up with 12 squared plus 18 squared might equal the square root of, or might equal 24 squared. We go ahead and do some calculations using our calculator, and we get 468 is actually not equal to 576. I actually put a slash through the equal sign because in this case it is not equal, which means no, this one is not a right triangle. In fact, it's an obtuse triangle. A couple more examples. Of these three numbers, 28 inches, 21 inches, and 20 inches, 28 has the highest chance. Well, it's the only one that has a chance of being the hypotenuse. So let's set it up. We'll do 20 squared plus 21 squared equals 28 squared. Maybe equals 28 squared, I should say. We do the calculations, and we get 841 is not equal to 784. So this is not a right triangle. Next one, 1.25 millimeters, 1 millimeter, and 0.75 millimeters. The one that has a chance of being the hypotenuse is the 1.25. We set this up in an equation. 1 squared plus 0.75 squared equals might equal 1.25 squared. We do our calculations and we find that this one's actually true. So yes, that does form a right triangle. A very small one with millimeters involved. Here's some additional examples. Determine whether each set of triangles forms a right triangle. Now, to be kind of clever on that first one, 14 miles, 51 miles, and 67 miles. You can set that up this way and check to see if it works. But I already know it's not going to work without even trying that, because the two shorter sides in a triangle, as we learned in 7th grade math, oops, that's not 15, that's 51. Let me replace that real quick. 14 plus 51 actually equals 65. That is supposed to be greater than 67, and it is not greater. So this is not a triangle. And if it's not a triangle, there's no way it can be a right triangle. So no, on the right triangle. Okay, next one. 32.5 yards, 9.1 yards, and 31.2 yards. The 32.5 yards is the one that might be the hypotenuse. So 9.1 squared plus 31.2 squared might equal 32.5 squared. And when we plug these in, we get 1056.25 equals 1056.25, which is true. So yes, this one is a right triangle. Okay, next one. 20,000 kilometers, 15,000 kilometers, and 23,500. We would set this up as the hypotenuse. So we're going to do 20,000 squared plus 15,000 squared equals 23,500 squared. Now, if we do these, the 20,000 squared plus 50,000 squared ends up being 625 million. And 23,500 squared ends up being 552 million. That's a 5. 250,000. Well, those are not equal, so this is not a right triangle. Okay, for the last one there, I don't even need to check because the two short sides together are supposed to be longer than the long side, and 1 plus 3 is 4. This is not even enough to reach to make a right triangle. So it's not even a triangle. So there's no way it can be a right triangle.